This is Tech Vibe Radio, your front row seat to Pittsburgh's technology and innovation ecosystem. Tech Vibe is brought to you by Compunetics at Compunetics.com, Chorus Call at ChorusCall.com, Highmark at Highmark.com, Huntington Bank at Huntington.com, Kindling at thekindlingagency.com, PNC Bank at PNC.com, and Savier at Savier.com. Here are your hosts, Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, coming at you from the Huntington Bank Studios. Good morning, Audrey. Time for some Tech Vibe Radio, if I'm not mistaken. It's that time of the day.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. We've been having so much fun. First off, time is cruising by. I feel like this year has gone by like it's no one's business.
You always say that.
It's just
You always say that. That's Jonathan's standard line.
I mean, we're going
After
deep.
After 27 years being here, he's like, it's whipping by.
It's whipping by. I mean, we're deep into September at this point, and I'm just like, all right.
You're like entering your midlife here.
I'm beyond midlife at this point. But that's a whole other story, because today we have a really fun guest I can't wait to jump into. There's a company hanging out here in Pittsburgh you may not know about, and that's one of the things we love doing, Audrey, is putting a little spotlight on some companies that are just hard at work doing what they do. But we're going to let people know what they do. And today we have Steve Blothan joining us from ACA, and they are the leading governance, risk, and compliance advisor in the financial services, which sounds very sterile because you guys get to do some really cool stuff. So Steve, welcome to Tech Vibe today.
Great. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thanks for being here. We're going to jump into what is all the cool stuff that you're doing. Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, well, give us the elevator pitch, of course, for what ACA is about. I want to know about you as well, too, because rumor has it you do a lot of commuting between North Carolina and Pittsburgh.
That's right. Well, what's more cool than regulations?
I like regulations, man.
Who doesn't get excited about that? Yeah, so it's actually really interesting in a very boring way. But if people don't do it, then
what?
Exactly. And so really that's where we're there to help, right? And so our main clientele are those folks in the financial industry, regulated investment advisors, hedge funds, private equities, right?
Yeah.
All the people who help make us money for our 401ks, right? But they got to follow the rules. And these companies want to follow the rules. But like all laws, they're kind of complicated. They're hard to navigate. And so that's really what we help our clients do. We do it with three ways. One, we have an advisory group, which is basically like phone a friend, right? So I have a horrible plumbing analogy, right? When I
like this.
At home, right?
Yeah.
When I have an issue, I need help. The plumbing, I got to fix it. What do? I call my dad. He's an expert, right? I call him for advice.
He's number one.
He's going to give me advice on the best way to fix it, best way to avoid a problem, right? So that's what our advisory group does. They're the phone of friends. What can I do to make sure I'm compliant with the SEC regulations? Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool, Dad.
I like it. Thank you.
But hey, maybe I'll try fixing it myself. Right. Cool.
Right.
I need
What
a
about
tool
that?
for that, right? So I'm going to go to your local hardware store and get a plumbing tool.
Right.
Well, that's our technology, right? We're going to go and
Plunger.
we're going to plunge it.
Uh-oh, we got some serious stuff clogging the pipes, Audrey.
Yikes. I'm
Damn
gonna get a big
regulations.
plunger, right? And so that's what our technology is. It's the tool to help people sort of do that themselves. How do
That's nice.
What are my obligations to stay compliant? Here's the tools to help. So we offer up that technology. And that's great. But once I've called my dad, I've bought the tool, I might just say, you know what? I'm over my head. I can't handle this because it's too much. Maybe anyway. So I'll outsource it to a plumber or, in case, our managed services. And I say, hey, just take the work. Help me with it because I can't, for whatever reason, cost, effort, expertise. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of their triangle, right? So our clients have the problem of staying compliant, and we can help them in any of those ways.
It's fascinating to me because this is such important stuff. I mean, these regulations, making sure they're adhered to and followed, it's just so necessary to keep society functioning on the financial side of things.
Here's the thing. The regulations change so often, and that's actually part of the bigger problem.
That's right.
Because once you think you've mastered it, and I know that because we have a 401k plan.
That's right.
And I've done other financial things over time. But, sometimes I think, oh, I really know this stuff. And then all of a sudden I sit in a meeting like 10 minutes ago, and they say, well, here's something that's changing. And I'm like, no, that can't be changed. Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, that's right.
And as a result, you need to recalibrate and you need to comply.
That's right.
And you only have 60 days to do it.
I thought it was 30 days. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, there's changing regulations all the time, and then there's regulations that stay the same but different, focus areas. But again, like we pick on the SEC is the big one everyone knows about, right? They'll focus on different parts. They'll enforce different aspects depending on what's going in the market, what they're seeing, where there's been maybe bad actors, and so they'll want to focus there to help send a message and help correct. So it's a very dynamic environment
for sure. And so, Steve, you just had a title change, which is kind of cool. I mean, you were the CIO at ACA for a while, but now you're leading up the whole managed services side of things.
That's
so
right.
Tell us about that. I mean, that's very exciting.
Yeah. So it was a really cool opportunity. Our managed services group have been around for about 10 years, but they were actually part of our advisory business. And so we made the strategic choice to separate that out for growth, right? And so a CIO, it's a weird transition. It's because of my technology background. That was largely the why. Plus, it seemed interesting and cool to work on.
I'll do it.
And they gave you a chance. They must have thought that you were able to make that kind of pivot.
That's the bet.
Be additive, right? Is that what they're betting on?
Yeah.
Should we check
a lot
in?
of big bets, yeah.
We'll check in on
I'm
you
doing
in like
okay,
a year.
but we'll find out.
We'll call you back in 6 months. If you're still there, we know it worked out. It's all good.
Right. But I mean, when you think about it, there's nothing better than to take your experience as a CIO and then overlay that in the business.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So we have again a lot of we've had and continue to have really great people who do the work. But they do.
You don't.
We do. But the problem is that they don't have the technology to help them. Right. It's a lot. I mean, this compliance industry is a lot of manual efforts, and so the idea of spinning it out is to really focus in on enhancing it, but bringing the technology. And so a lot of my background is in building software and helping teams build software, and to get right embedded in the business is the accelerator on the whole thing.
So how does your software stay up to date, given what we just talked about before?
Yeah, the ever changes and the 60 days notice.
Yeah. So it's great. So it really comes down to the triangle, right? So we have an entire division whose job it is to give good advice. How do you give good advice? Pay attention to the regulations, talk to our clients. They have this internal network, right? Who's doing what? What's the best practice, right? And they have to do that just to keep giving good advice, right? My dad's got to make sure he keeps giving me the right advice, even though the toilet's changed.
And he's got the right tools to loan you then at a certain point in time, right?
And then we, on the managed service side, do that work at scale. Right, and so we have on advisory folks, well over 6,000 clients. We are giving them advice, and so we are learning from the advice that we give, the problems that those folks have, and of course, paying attention to the changing regulations. On the managed service side, we execute on this work, so we do things at scale and thousands of opportunities at a time. And so those are the data points that actually make our way into the technology. And they all sort of cycle together. Our technology informs how we can do services better. The services informs the technology.
Right.
The advisement folks tell us what's happening and what's going to happen so we can stay ahead of it.
So it's regenerative.
Yeah, there are little feedback loops on each of those.
They keep coming around.
So if I'm one of your clients and I say, you know what, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Is that a good strategy when it comes to this stuff?
Good's relative. I say it's okay. We have better advice. I mean, I love AI. I love ChatGPT. What we have is the intellectual property of the advisors, right? We have our folks who spend the time reading the regulations. And yes, you could ask ChatGPT to summarize a rule or regulation, but what should I do about it? What are my peers doing about it is the key part that ChatGPT doesn't know.
Right.
At a certain point, I want a human being with the experience and the tech behind them to make that happen. We're going to take a quick break, but we're coming right back. In case you just joined us, we are talking to Steve Blossom, who runs all the managed services at ACA. And if you go to acaglobal.com, you can check out all the things that they do. And when we come back, Steve, we're going to have some fun, talk about more about what ACA does, what you do day to day, of course, and how people can connect up and talk about your growth here in Pittsburgh, which we think is super exciting.
It's great. Stay tuned.
Absolutely. We're coming right back. This is Jonathan Kirsting.
And this is Audrey Rousseau.
Audrey, keep on checking. And it keeps checking out clear. We're from the Pittsburgh Technology Council. Go to pghtech.org. Compunetics is the leading developer of unified voice, video, and data collaboration and conferencing applications for the service provider, government, and unique workflow applications. The Summit Olympus and Evergreen platforms, driven by their encrypted user interfaces, enable powerful and secure collaboration. Combined with world-class support and innovative professional services, Compunetics delivers the right solution every time. Learn more at compunetics.com. Every company needs to attract and keep talented people. To do it, you need a strong company story told by those who experience it every day, your employees. So invite your people to be your brand voice and let the Kindling Culture Agency gather and ignite your stories to engage and attract your people. Learn how at sparksomething.big.com. That's sparksomething.big.com. Your dial is set to Tech Vibe Radio, brought to you by Compunetics, Chorus Call, Highmark, Huntington Bank, Kindling, PNC Bank, and Xavier. Here are your hosts, Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, coming at you from the Huntington Bank studios. Welcome back. You are listening to Tech Vibe Radio, and we're from the Pittsburgh Technology Council, where we cannot stop telling stories of our member companies. These are the companies that are making Pittsburgh the awesome city that it is, because they're growing, they're moving, they're grooving, they're innovating. And in case you just joined us, we are hanging out with Steve Blossom, who's from ACA. And Steve, thanks for hanging out with us today, man. We love telling your story, man, because you're doing some great work up there in Green Tree and Foster Plaza.
Thanks, yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely. So before we left, we want to dive more into your managed services and what you guys do for these financial companies, because this is one of these services, Audrey, as you're saying, it's like, man, 401ks are dependent upon the rules being followed, so they hold their investment value, right? And that, yeah, it's just, these are necessary things.
And the people who participate in those plans.
Yes.
But what about let's talk about these types of managed services that ACA provides.
Yeah, great. So what we do is we help really be an extension for our clients to do the compliant work that they need to stay compliant.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're fun. Like I said, they're interesting but fun. So as a hedge fund, right, you want to make sure that – so one of the obligations is to make sure no one's doing insider trading. Great example.
That
right?
never goes on.
Nah, ever.
No,
Why is there a rule for that?
No, come on.
And so how do you usually catch that? Well, people like to talk about it, usually through email, and that's how it was done. So as a compliance officer, you have an obligation to do employee surveillance of your communications.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right? So all those emails are logged, but someone's got to look through them.
You guys do that,
and
right?
so we have to look through it. But you can imagine people send more than 1 or 2 emails a day.
Oh, my God.
So it's quite a volume.
And you're reading it all, right? Because if it's coming through that business.
So we use some sort of technology to help with that. Right?
Okay.
And so we're looking for it, and we try to see it. And again, language is very interesting. There's slang, there's jargon, there's dialect.
Yeah.
And so, our team does that for our clients because that's it's work. And our team loves it, and they actually have like contests to see who can find the coolest thing, because it's subtle, and they found some pretty amazing.
Is there anything you could share with us? Just a little snippet, maybe. Someone like saying, "Bring home the donuts."
some keywords and some slang.
We like those donuts. Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, oftentimes it's not that hidden. It's really just out in the open.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
it's
so,
that brazen sometimes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But then you're alerted to it. You find it, and you have to warn them, like, "Hey, guys, stop this!" Right?
That's right. Yeah.
So people who work in those environments know that their email is being.
They do. So which gets to the other side of the problem, which is people switch to other forms of communications. We call those off-channel. Right?
Off-channel? No way.
Fancy names.
Like walkie-talkies?
Well, sometimes. No, it's more like, hey, let's take this to text messaging. Let's take us to WhatsApp. Let's take it to LinkedIn. What are these things?
That's dark.
Yeah, it's what and not everything's malicious, right? Sometimes it's just for convenience. But
if you use walkie-talkies, you could say Roger that after everything, right?
As recorded, I say Roger twice. It means sell low.
Exactly. See, I'm onto it.
He knows the tricks. So that's what we try to work through, because as a compliance officer, you have an obligation to make sure that you have your arms around all that. So you have to make sure your employees are using only approved communication channels. You should be looking to see that there's nothing there. And sometimes, it's sharing non-public information. Sometimes it's insider trading. There's typical HR things that come up in communication. So we look through that, but it's a huge volume. And one of the interesting changes just in the last couple of years from COVID is once things really went remote, we saw just proliferation of other types, like chat is used way more, used all these things. And so how do you get your arms around all those?
So you're developing some of the technologies that can then monitor that.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Wow.
So we got to bring all that in, which means more data, which means more humans to look through it. So then you have a new problem of how do you get through it. And that's where we are starting to use some AI to help us find and search and cut down
You
the
see
noise.
patterns and things like that you can then start digging into and seeing if there's something inappropriate going on.
That's right. Yeah.
And so your expertise in managed services is for financial institutions.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. So you're not going to take a tech council and say, sure, we're going to provide services to you.
Well, if you need to be surveilling your employees, we certainly could.
We
No,
break.
I don't need to be surveilling.
But I don't know if you
them.
want
I
to.
I think that's a differentiator.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's our core focus is on the obligations of regulated investment advisors. And we're a global firm. We have global clients. So,
So what's the operations here in Pittsburgh?
So our managed services is primarily here in Pittsburgh. That's where most of the staff is. We strategically picked this area for all the good reasons of Pittsburgh, right? You have the talent pool. You have the feeds from all the colleges, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of the tech capabilities here.
Yeah.
We started in Pittsburgh specifically. One of our founders was here. Our managed services group was about 7 years ago. I think we had 7 people, and now we're well over 200 just in Pittsburgh.
That's
Wow.
that's why I keep saying
That's
it's
really
companies
cool.
like this, you'd never know it. They're in Foster Plaza kicking butt, employing 200 people.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Cool.
And having fun doing it.
And having fun doing it.
great.
That's what I wanted to hear right there. Absolutely.
That's what we hear. So we have Steve Blossom here, who's sitting with us.
Absolutely.
Former CIO, just recently moved into a new role. The new role is?
It's building out this group as a dedicated business line. So what's nice about that is because we're now, what's my day-to-day? It's finding the new problems for clients that we haven't solved yet. It's figuring out how to get the tech to make it easier, better, cheaper for them or for us.
Nice.
Yes, I'm having a lot of fun doing that.
Putting those plumber's wrenches
love
on
it.
it, right? Exactly. Getting those
love
water
your
leaks
energy.
sealed
Yeah,
up. Oh, that's great, man.
I love the energy.
I told him he could move to Pittsburgh full time if he wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a
Sure.
great place to be. He
Jonathan will sell you his house.
said, exactly, I will. Cheap.
It is beautiful here, especially in the fall.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
No, we're just so glad you guys are doing what you're doing here. I mean, it's one of these important services you don't think about, but it's technology driven. That's what makes our job so much
Are
fun
you
here.
recruiting any people here right now? Are you?
We're always
hiring?
recruiting. We have
Okay.
open recs all the time. Yeah, like I said, we're
Excellent.
growing business. Managed services are growing. I mean, we help people economically solve that challenge. I mean, can you imagine trying to hire people on staff to just look through emails?
Right.
It's difficult to find, difficult to retain. It's
Yeah.
easier to say let someone else handle that, and that's just one of our services, right?
Of
We
course.
do a lot of that core work. So yeah, we're growing because the demand is really really high, and
So
Excellent.
they can go to acaglobal.com.
It's all
They
there.
can find out more about that.
yeah.
I love knowing that you guys are hiring people. You're solving tough problems. I mean, you're making sure that the regulations are stuck to. That's just so important. I don't know.
Is there information about careers on your site?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, great.
all
That's great.
day long. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple minutes left, so we're moving into 2025. As I was starting to show up, I'm like, Audrey, it's the end of September. I'm freaking out.
This is when he freaks out.
It
This is
happens.
when he freaks out.
Yeah, so you got to be very excited about 2025 and the direction that you guys are moving in.
Oh, very much so.
Tell
Yeah.
me more about that. What has you most fired up about being part of ACA, helping it grow in Pittsburgh and all that kind of fun stuff?
It's almost cliche at this point, but I'm super excited about AI.
Yeah.
That's helping us in a lot of ways. We
I
just
bet.
finished with an acquisition with AI. So one of the other problem sets is people do what's called expert networks. So it's if you want to find out about a particular industry because you want to invest in it, you're going to call an expert, right? But we got to make sure everything that is communicated over that conversation is not non-material public information, things I can't trade.
yeah.
So what's the best way? You get a chaperone, just like high school. Keep people, and it's a great job.
Quit touching.
But to have a human
Yes.
sitting on the call is expensive, and it takes time, right? And so we have AI that will now record those calls, transcribe those calls, even highlight the conversation, so our humans can take a look at that. They can go back to the audio recording. So we just had that acquisition. It's been amazing because now you can really listen,
that's fun.
effectively listen to all these calls. And so we're taking that, like AI, and applying to like emails. How do we make it better? Call chaperoning. So I'm really excited about all this stuff that is available to us. I mean, to help our clients.
That's great. That's why it's so much fun to be talking about these new technologies and how you can employ it to make your business better and more productive.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Oh my goodness, we're out of time, Audrey. Dang it!
Well,
Like I said, it's
you.
crazy.
Thank you, Steve
Killing me.
Blossom, for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Really great. Love your energy. Love what you bring to the table. They're lucky to have you.
He's better than a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning. I like this, man. Simple as that. So acaglobal.com if you want to learn more about the company, the job opportunities there as well, too. 200 people in Green Tree, Foster Plaza. Digging it. Very cool. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Audrey, I hate ending the show, but guess what?
It's time
Next
to
Sunday,
go.
you and me, man, back on the air again doing this type of stuff. So having some fun. Everyone keep on listening. Hey, we're on podcast last time I checked. If you got a little jonesing for some tech vibe, I don't know, on a Monday night, just wherever you get your podcast, look for Tech Vibe. We'll be there. Go to pghtech.org and have an awesome rest of your Sunday, everybody. Thanks for geeking out with us on Tech Vibe Radio. Tune in next Sunday for more tech and innovation stories right here from Pittsburgh. Tech Vibe is brought to you by Compunetics at compunetics.com, Chorus Call at choruscall.com, Highmark at highmark.com, Huntington Bank at huntington.com, Kindling at thekindlingagency.com, PNC Bank at pnc.com, and Savior at savior.com. And we're always coming at you from the Huntington Bank Studios.